right, we're going to look at some cross sections of some three-dimensional shapes. So if you're one of the students in my class, hopefully you already have your note page out already and already listed down the different shapes that we're going to be talking about after you watched the first little mini video, just refreshing your memory on how you name the shapes. Okay, so we're going to be starting off with something like this, a rectangular prism. Okay, so you can see that. The second shape that we're going to be working with is a triangular prism. Again, remember, prisms we name by their bases, and the base is what we have. A rectangular prism, it's hard to tell because they're all rectangles, or it could be a square. But for the triangular prism, you see that you have two triangles here. Those are our bases. So this is a triangular prism. All right, we have a cylinder is our third one. Okay, and then on the next page, we have a pyramid here. All right, pyramids go up to a point. All right, you're going to see like triangle shapes on the sides. It could have a square base, a rectangle base. It could have different bases. It could have like a hexagonal base. All right, or the last shape that we're going to look at is a cone. Okay, all right, so let's get to doing some cuts here. All right, now this video is being made during the coronavirus, so I don't have a whole lot of materials to cut some of this. So I kind of just went and found some things at my house here that we can cut for, to see what for shapes we get for our cross sections. All right, so the first thing, if I have a rectangular prism here, okay, so I have some styrofoam here that we're going to be looking at. Okay, and for this one, I want to make a cut that's going to be horizontal to my base. All right, so in this case, I'm going to think of the bottom part here as being my base, so I want to make a horizontal cut. Or you can think of a piece of paper going through and cutting through this way. What shape are we going to be getting at the end then? So let me just get a little bit smaller piece here, so I'm not using it all up with my very first cut here. All right, so if I'm cutting through horizontal like this, all right, let's see what we're going to get. Maybe you can make some guesses. Wow, I'm going to cut it, making actually what's going to look like a vertical cut, but I'm going to turn it back around here so you could see, like if I visualize this, there's my plane that I'm cutting through. So what shape do I get when that cuts through? It is a rectangle, okay? So a cut parallel to the base, or a horizontal cut, is going to give us a rectangle. Okay, kind of makes sense since it's a rectangular prism. Okay, all right, so what if I have this rectangular prism, just a little bit smaller one here, but we can still use this. What if I want to cut it perpendicular to the base, or this time it's going to be a vertical cut? So if I just make a cut like this, okay, down through my rectangular prism, I get another rectangle, okay? Okay, so I'm going to get a rectangle there. All right, so they don't all have to be just a vertical or horizontal cut. We can make a diagonal cut. So let me get a little bit of my rectangular prism here. All right, so what would happen if I would make a diagonal cut like this? What for shape am I going to get? See if you can guess why I make this diagonal cut. Okay, so you can kind of see the shape here. Again, visualize what it's going to look like here. All right, so if I just look at this, again, it's going to be another just a rectangle that we have here. All right, sometimes you see this as, some books will call it a parallelogram, but a parallelogram is just, a rectangle, I should say, is a parallelogram. We can't fit it all in there. Okay, a parallelogram, because it does kind of look a little bit more angled, but if you would lay this down and just draw around it, again, you're just going to get a rectangle, okay? All right, so it looks like I'm just making some rectangles on this. Do you think there's any way that I could get something a little bit different than always having a rectangle? Well, we're going to make something called an irregular cut here. So what I'm going to do is I have this rectangular prism here. And this time, what if I just cut the corner and kind of do like a diagonal cut down the corner here. And hopefully we can see this. All right, it's kind of hard to see what it's going to look like there since everything's so white there. But what if I look at it this way? What shape do you see there? I see a triangle. Do you see a triangle there? Okay, so I can get an irregular cut of a triangle if we just cut down the corner. Okay, so if you cut just the corner off, we can get a triangle for our irregular cut. All right, let's move on to our triangular prisms here. All right, so a triangular prism. So here's a small one. Okay, if I make a cut that is parallel to the base, or a horizontal cut, again, you can think of this paper coming in and cutting it like this. All right, so what for shape do you think we're going to get? Again, I'm going to turn it this way just because it's easier for me to cut. And then I'll turn it back again the way that it should be. All right, so if I make this horizontal cut like this with my paper going through there, all right, what for shape do you think we're going to get when I pull this apart? I'm looking just right here, okay, and if I look just right there, I'm going to get a rectangle. Okay, so I get a rectangle. All right, what if I take my triangular prism here, and this time I'm going to cut perpendicular to the base or make a vertical cut. Okay, so I have a triangular prism. I'm going to make a vertical cut here. So if I make my vertical cut, this time I am going to get a triangle. Okay, I get a triangle. Okay. All right, now with the triangular prism, we really don't worry about a diagonal cut or a real irregular cut, so we're going to just kind of just leave those blank for right now, but our other ones, we all talk about those, okay? All right, so a cylinder. Let me get some of this off of my paper here and lay it back down. Again, because this is during a time where I can't really go out and buy too many things at the stores. I don't have like a styrofoam cylinder and things to cut, so we're just going to make do a little bit here. So you need to imagine a little bit as to what I have. All right, so I have actually a sausage. Actually has cheese in it too. Okay, so a sausage here. Looks like a cylinder, right? Okay, well, make it a little bit more straight there. Okay, looks like a cylinder. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a cut that is horizontal. Okay, so a horizontal cut if I'm holding it just like that. So I'm going to lay this down. If I make a horizontal cut, all right, so what shape do I get? Either place I'm looking here, that shape is going to be a circle. So anytime you have a cylinder and you make a horizontal cut, we're going to get a circle. Okay. All right, so what do you think is going to happen if I make a vertical cut in this? So if I slice down this way, what for shape are we going to get? Well, out of that cylinder, we came up with a rectangle. Okay, I'm looking at this shape. I'm not looking at the arc shape out here. I'm looking just at what I got when I made that cut, and that is a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to write rectangle down here. All right, now let me put these off to the side here, and we're going to look at this one. This time we are going to do a diagonal cut as our next one here. So what happens if I would do a diagonal cut on my sausage? So if I go something like this and I go down, what shape do you see here? It's not quite a circle, okay? Not quite a circle. So this is something that a lot of books will just say that we're going to get an oval. All right, some of them are going to call it an ellipse. which is a little bit more of a mathematical term for that, all right, because it's not a perfect circle this time. It's an elongated circle, okay? So oval or an ellipse, okay? Now, we're going to make one other kind of a different type of a cut here. Let me clean my knife off here a little bit. What would happen if I would just do a slight cut like this, okay? And so the shape that you're seeing here, they're going to just say that's a semicircle. So you might see that some different places. All right, so if I just make an irregular cut, I can get a semicircle. Okay, semicircle. Okay, all right, set the sausages off to the side. All right, so let's see what we have here. Next, we have a pyramid. All right, well, I have to admit my pyramids don't look so great here because I can't really find things that look like a pyramid for what we have. So we're going to pretend. All right, so use your imagination a little bit. I tried to cut pyramids out of the styrofoam and it wasn't cutting so well. Okay. All right, so my first one, if I want to do a horizontal cut on my pyramid, okay, so if I want to make and cut this way, so if I go down like this, again, it's going to look like I'm doing a vertical one, but it makes it easier for me. Okay, so if I have my pyramid and I look at it, and let's just say that this is a rectangle at the bottom, okay, on this one, I'm going to get a rectangle again. Again, sometimes remember, it could be a square, depending on what type of pyramid we have, but this one looks like a rectangular base on the pyramid that you have there. So we're going to get a rectangle, okay? All right, so what do you think is going to happen if we take and if I make a vertical cut? Okay, so if I take this and I make a vertical cut right down the center, I'm hoping that this works out okay. All right, well, kind of stayed in shape. All right, so kind of visualize the point that I couldn't get up there. Okay, so the shape that we're going to get is a triangle. Okay, so this one's going to be a triangle. Okay, all right, and we are going to do a diagonal cut on this one. Let me set these off to the side. So here's, I have another hopefully pyramid looking type item here. All right, and if I make a diagonal cut, let me kind of lay it down here like this. All right, now this one might be a little harder to visualize what we get. So, oops, let me show it like this again. And if I come down like this and I look, actually what I get, if I had something a little bit bigger, you could see it. This is actually a trapezoid. A trapezoid, okay? So if you remember a trapezoid, all right, it has two bases, all right? And the bases aren't quite the same. This one is just a little shorter than this one, okay? And then so these don't go up quite straight, so they're going to have an angle. They're not parallel lines here. A trapezoid just has one set of parallel sides, and then these sides would taper up, and eventually, like it did in the pyramid, they're going to be touching, okay? All right, so we can get a trapezoid out of that. All right, I'm going to just put an X through here because we're not going to do an irregular cut with that one. All right, now we're going to visualize a little bit here for our cone. All right, and something maybe a little bit better to look at instead of the sausage. So let me slide my cone over here so hopefully you can still see both things. All right, so make sure I don't have any styrofoam pieces here because I have some strawberries. All right, and well, strawberry kind of looks like a little bit like a cone. Let me try cutting this one maybe a little bit better. Okay, so just visualize a cone shape here. I know you have to use your imagination. Okay, so what would happen if I would make a horizontal cut on my strawberry? So if I cut it like this, all right, the shape that I'm going to get is going to be a circle, okay? So first one we're going to write down here. Let me clean my hands off. This is going to be a circle when I make the horizontal cut, okay? what if I take and make a vertical cut down through the top of the cone? All right, and I look at the two parts I have here. You can kind of see that looks like a triangle, at least close enough under all these circumstances. Okay, so I'm going to get a triangle when I make that cut. Okay, all right, so let's use this piece, and this time let's do a diagonal cut. So if I have my cone and I do a diagonal cut here, I can cut the whole way through. All right, this piece is a little easier for you to see. Again, we're going to get that oval shape there, or the ellipse. And I'm getting strawberry juice on my papers. So oval, or again, you could write down the ellipse, which is a little bit more mathematical to say instead of just the oval. Okay, and so like my irregular cut that I could make, again, I could make something that I did for the cylinder. If I just come down like that, and I kind of get an arc there, or depending on how large you did it, it could be a little bit more like a semicircle. Okay, so we could say an arc, or sometimes they, again, will say a semicircle. All right. And we have one last one we did not put on the paper, but just to look at it, okay? So this would be a sphere, okay? Kind of looks like a ball. Again, I didn't have a styrofoam ball, so this apple was the closest thing I had, because you can't really get to the grocery store too much here. So what I'm going to do, if I just make any slices to this, so think of this as being a sphere, a ball, we don't really have a top or a bottom or a base. So if I just cut through it, so I can't really do a vertical or horizontal cut through it, because it's all going to be pretty much the same thing. Again, so anytime I have this sphere and I make any type of cut on it, I am going to get a circle. Okay? All right, so hopefully that will help you with the practice problems that you're going to be doing soon. If you need to, go through and watch the video again. All right, bye.